There's times where it gets hard to defend video games as a form of art, because of all the corporate BS that happens. The publishers meddling with the visions of the programmers and the utter bastardization of the industry. The need to put profits over artistic vision. And not only do the ones who hold the keys to the kingdom not care about preserving games as a piece of history, they actively seek to destroy anything that would preserve them. So when you see how by the numbers games are nowadays, with minimal risk involved and just produced to the point where it feels like some artificial intelligence is making these games, and if you saw the zero punctuation on Watch Dogs 2, Yahtzee joked about how Ubisoft is more of a machine that needs things explained to it before it understands. Like when people complained about Assassin's Creed Unity not having female assassins, then Syndicate fixed that with an optional female assassin, and how everyone complained about Aiden Pierce being a boring white dude in the first Watch Dogs, Ubisoft made Watch Dogs 2 about a young black guy who joins a rather diverse cast of hackers. The fact that focus testing has become more of the rule rather than a guideline hurts the games or our argument. There's an episode of the Dilbert animated series where he used science to determine what art is. After he did focus testing and came up with a blue duck, it exploded in popularity, as it appealed to the lowest common denominator of society, effectively destroying the value of classic pieces of art. While focus testing is not a bad thing, it can help determine demographics and increase sales. I've ran a few Twitter polls to get ideas or opinions. I read the comment sections for suggestions. However, I use it as a guideline. But when it becomes a rule is when things start falling apart and become ridiculed. Look at Call of Duty. After the first Modern Warfare game, that's when gaming became all about online play. Why is that? Because the publishers can monitor the data passing through the servers, seeing what game modes, maps, weapons, and whatever people like the most. You really can't see that from a single-player campaign perspective. Call of Duty, while rated M for its violence, is obviously marketed towards adolescent boys or those with adolescent boy mindsets like your stereotypical frat boy. Activision knows this and has even admitted that they purposely market their games to kids. They've also admitted that the people who play Call of Duty aren't gamers. Essentially, they are marketing towards the lowest common denominator, which I think that Call of Duty players should find that insulting. And Call of Duty Infinite Warfare got laughed at while Battlefield 1 got praised, so you know that the next Call of Duty is going to be set in World War I, with trench warfare because of Battlefield getting higher scores. There's Metal Gear Solid Survive, which is a zombie survival game, because of course they had to go with zombies even though that ship has long since sailed. Call of Duty gets zombie DLC because publisher research shows that zombie games are still popular among 11-year-old boys. Sonic Lost World is the result of focus testing. When being shown off, the Sega representative said that people were saying that they liked going fast but hated running into things in Sonic Unleashed Colors and Generations. So they gave Sonic a run button and slowed him down. Sonic Lost World, while a good platformer, was taking Sonic out of his natural environment. Watch my The Sonic Problem rant for more details. And it's not just video games where focus testing is ruining its medium. Cartoon Network's Teen Titans Go and the new Powerpuff Girls are a result of making focus testing the rule. Teen Titans Go is very hit and miss for me. Some episodes can be entertaining, but most of them aren't. It's trying to capture that surreal humor that Adventure Time and Regular Show had, but the issue is, it can't. Because it's not an original property with its own world. It's just injecting the Teen Titan characters into situations that Finn, Jake, Mordecai, and Rigby would encounter. Powerpuff Girls is pretty much nothing but internet humor and memes, to the point where it's not even a joke but a reference. Some of them are just old memes and jokes. There was one where Mojo Jojo made a lolcat picture of himself asking if he could have a cheeseburger. A joke that has not only been killed, but buried 6 feet under and covered with cement. They treat the girls like tweens instead of the kindergarteners that they originally were, putting them in situations that kids in middle to high school may encounter, when they have a show that already does similar situations, which is We Bare Bears or Clarence, shows that have already established their presence. The new Powerpuff Girls are just chasing those trends because focus testing shows them to be popular. Where's the risk? Where's the sense of wanting to create something awesome? Steven Universe is probably the show that takes the most risks right now and is the best cartoon the channel has to offer, as it has genuine character development that spans over the course of the series. While Regular Show and Adventure Time also had that, they've ended while Steven Universe continues. Family Guy used to be pretty good, but as the series went on, they just started copying jokes from the internet. American Dad took post 9/11 Republican propaganda, conservatism, and conspiracy theories and made fun of it, but then went down the path of Family Guy. The Cleveland Show was just Family Guy with a Cleveland character who was a pretty intelligent character when he was on Family Guy, but then turned him into Peter Griffin when they gave him his own spin-off show. Why? Because Family Guy was popular. And The Simpsons. Let's not get started on that, but I'll just say this. It's a show that's gone on for far too long and needs to retire. It's been there, it's done it all, and while I like it more than Family Guy, I think they've hit a wall when it comes to writing. The problem is that these industries are facing a lack of creativity, so they just go for the lowest hanging fruit that's available, which is either multiplayer shooters because everyone buys them, or trying to make a game more like an action movie, or copying internet jokes because they couldn't be bothered to write their own. But when they actually take the risk and get creative, some of the best work comes forth. Going back to Family Guy, some of the best episodes are the ones with character development. Like when Meg went off on Peter, Lois, and Chris, exposing them for the jerks that they are. Or when Stewie and Brian were locked in a bank safe for a weekend. Those were great episodes. They were funny, they were original, they were just well written. Or how about the recently released Resident Evil 7, a game that is getting praise from everyone. And why is that? Because it's taken the series back to its horror roots, where it's more like that point-and-click adventure game where you solve puzzles in a creepy environment and fight scary-ass monsters. While Resident Evil 4 took the series into a more action-orientated route, it was still situated in its horror setting. But 5 and 6 just said, screw it, let's make it like Uncharted because third-person action games are all the rage right now. And now it looks like Capcom is surprised that people like horror games, just like how Square Enix was surprised that people liked JRPG turn-based combat. You know, something that Pokemon, one of the most popular JRPGs out there, uses turn-based combat and is still one of the most popular Nintendo franchises. And why were they surprised? Because focus testing became the rule, not a guideline. That's why we've been seeing such a lack of JRPGs, such a lack of horror games, and everything's been more action-orientated and movie-looking, because focus testing says, hey, this stuff will bring in big bucks. Don't take the risk. Don't make a horror game. Don't make a JRPG. No one likes those. And then when they actually do decide, hey, let's take a risk and make one, it makes money hand over fist. And look at the hot mess that Steam is. How many indie developers are still trying to cash in on Minecraft, with their own open-world survival crafting game that may or may not have zombies in it? Very few of them succeed. Don't Starve is one of the very successful ones, but so many of them fail. They're just chasing those 4 popular terms: open world, survival, crafting, and zombies. They need to be creative and do different things. I'll give them points if they take a popular idea and do their own thing with it, like Overwatch, which did its own things with team-based multiplayer games, or WildStar, which feels like World of Warcraft but does its own thing as well. I've often discussed about the gaming industry growing more and more stagnant as the years go on, as they chase popular trends and don't deviate from whatever course it is they set for themselves. But I think it's because focus testing has become the rule instead of a guideline. But it's becoming more than a rule. It's becoming a holy commandment that they fear breaking. But I think it's time that the holy document of gaming law needs to be changed for the sake of its own survival.